going on, everybody? SeanPierceJohnson here, and welcome to this week's episode of Stompbox Saturday. Today on the Stompin block, we are taking a look at the Ghost Ridge Reverb from NativeAudio. We're going to be taking a look at a couple different pedals from NativeAudio's line over the course of the next several weeks, starting with the Ghost Ridge for a very specific reason, both practical and spiritual, which we'll get to at the end of this video. But the point is, when it comes to a reverb pedal of its size and its simple feature set, it can do something that a lot of those reverb pedals can't do, and it's something that is becoming increasingly important to guitarists like you all watching out there, and to a certain extent, myself. So let's go ahead, throw the pedal up on the screen, and take a look at the controls and see how exactly we are going to manipulate the sound to get our tone. This pedal has sorry to my friends in the UK, two knobs, and each of those two knobs has two different functions. So the left knob is the mix knob, but it is also the knob that you use to select one of the four different reverb algorithms that are loaded into the Ghost Ridge. The right knob adjusts the reverb depth, of course, how long the reverb is going to decay out, as well as adjusts the amount of modulation added into that decay. So how are you going to access those secondary functions of those knobs? Well, your answer is down at the bottom of the pedal where the foot switches are. We have two. The left one is our bypass foot switch, and the right one allows us to cycle through presets. Little hint of what this pedal can do that most other reverb pedals this size are not doing. So how do we access those secondary functions? Well, as you can see in parentheses on the on foot switch is hold. So basically all you need to do is press and hold down on the bypass foot switch and start turning the left knob, and you'll see that the LED changes depending on the reverb algorithm that you have selected. And then if you want to add modulation, you just press and hold and dial it in as you see fit. Let's go over the setup. I'm going to go with the Framus Television today. I've been really bonding with this one recently. I think it kind of has a different characteristic and works really well with the Reverb. We're going into a Boss TU2 to keep us in tune, and I'm also bringing in the Keeley Aria for a little bit of crunchy boost in front of the dirty channel to take it over the top, but also the compression to kind of rein things in and keep us nice and clean. Now, the Ghost Ridge is running in the Reverb 100's effects loop, and we'll be using both the clean channel and the dirty channel. So I think the most logical place to start is to listen to the Hall algorithm. So let's jump right in. Okay, it's starting to fade out now. Now I can start talking. The Hall, very deep. Even at a shorter setting, it still has a nice amount of depth to it. So I'm going to slap on the compressor to keep things handy and split the coils, and let's just play around a little bit. little bit of crunch to that, and let's tighten that up, and let's do a little bit of riffing. Like that. That is a lot of fun. It's got a nice amount of pre-delay already built into it so that even at a higher mix setting, you can still get some of that original attack, but it's going to come in just ever so slightly after you play your note. Now let's go ahead and add in some modulation to the reverb. I'm going to keep that one up fairly high on the depth because you really start to notice that modulation around that point. Well, personally, I think the Hall is a winner. Now let's move on to the Plate, which probably is one of my favorite type of reverbs to be built into pedals. There's a little bit of modulation still in there, so let's dial that out and see how washy it gets without that modulation. Long plates, that's really one of those things that it's a very magical kind of reverb. Whether it's short or whether it's long, there's a very interesting diffusion to plate reverb that doesn't really sound like, a Hall, definitely doesn't sound like a spring, and really it's probably one of those analog reverbs that really has its own sound, and it works for a lot of different applications. So let's crunch it up a little bit, and let's do some rocking. Yeah, that's pretty much the sound. A little bit more crunch, and let's soar a little bit, shall we? Yep. With this plate, the way that it diffuses, when you add in the modulation, I find that this becomes one of my favorite ambient reverbs. Now, when it comes to the types of reverbs that are usually available on reverb pedals, Room is one of those ones that, much like the film that shares its name, just kind of gets cast aside and dismissed as something kind of stupid. Well, after all, it's like, it's a room. What's that gonna do? I want big, washy reverbs that'll drown me in sound. But the thing about Room reverb is, it's not meant to be this huge sound. What it really does is it more adds a level of comfort to you as a player, so that, say you're playing with an amp that has absolutely no reverb, and there's just something about it that just feels really stiff. You know? You've probably had situations like that in your playing life. I know I have. And Room reverb, that's really where it comes in handy. So let's check out the one that's built into the Ghost Ridge. You can hear, very short, it just kind of sits in this point where it's more general ambience rather than let me run my rig in stereo with my supercomputer delay and reverb pedals and my modulation pedals all in this one line on a bridge. I'm going on a tangent here, aren't I? Now, this is really the reverb that I find myself playing about 90% of the time when I use the Ghost Ridge, because I find that it comes in so handy over a wide swath of tones. Add on a little bit of compression for some arpeggiated stuff. And then when we slap on some dirt, that's really where that thunking, kind of hard, stiff, dry guitar sound just really kind of gets a little bit of like a, it's like getting the gunk out of your lungs. Crazy kids, we have now arrived at the spring algorithm, one that we seem to be getting a lot of different examples of these days, most notably in the Electro-Harmonix Oceans 11. Let's see how the one on Ghost Ridge compares to some of the other ones that we've checked out this year. higher range of the knob definitely has that kind of flowing of a long spring, and you can definitely, this definitely has more of a tight spring, loose spring effect. It's almost like a short spring, like right about here to about here. You start getting like your classic Fendery sound around this range of the knob, and then once you get here, it's almost like you're stretching the springs out to be as long as you can possibly make them to get something kind of springy, flowingy, all that kind of good stuff. Let's go ahead and play around with that one. I find that this really kind of gets you that good mix so that you have that sort of classic sound. And it kind of has a little bit of that drip thing going on. You hear it more on the bridge pickup. Let's see about adding some modulation to that sound. Let's go for like just a hair under 50% and go back to that sound and that mix and depth setting that we originally had. That little bit of motion almost kind of feels like we have the vibrato part of a Fender amplifier being added to the tail of that spring reverb. It's a very, very interesting sound and lends a nice little motion and is something that I kind of like. So there's a little taste of the different reverb algorithms that are available to you on Ghost Ridge, but of course, this thing can save presets. I think it's a good idea that I show you guys how easy it is to do this, and believe me, once you realize how easy it is, you'll wonder why other pedals are so complicated to load presets onto. So let's check it out. So let's say you, like me, have dialed in a reverb tone that you're kind of happy with and want to be able to recall at a moment's notice. A nice plate reverb, long, washy, with a good dose of modulation. Well, knowing how gear can get knocked around and your settings are probably going to be changed, so we want to save it into Ghost Ridge in order to be able to get that sound anytime we want. It's a very simple thing to do. Press and hold down on the preset foot switch, and you'll see that the LEDs on the line that show you which preset you're on start blinking. This is basically your indicator of, hey, you are saving a preset now. So I'm going to go ahead and cycle to preset number 2. I already have something loaded onto preset 1, and that's where I want to save it. So how exactly do you save it? Press and hold down on the preset foot switch again until the LED stops blinking. And that means that, hey, you're good to go. You're no longer in save mode. You have just saved. So you can easily go from this sound away from that sound to preset 1, which is like a room reverb, and go right back to it. There you go. It's as simple as that. You can save up to 4 of them, so you could save a preset of each type of reverb available on Ghost Ridge, and you can essentially think about it like this. 4 presets, and live mode means you have access to up to 5 different sounds on this pedal. That's something that a lot of pedals, like in this size and being pedal board friendly, they just don't allow you the ability to do that. Now you might be looking at this and thinking, well, other pedals have more level of control and blah, 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 and I can manipulate more things in order to get the sound that I want. But the great thing about Ghost Ridge is a lot of that work has already been done for you. And really, I can't think about wanting to change much on these algorithms. I'm pretty happy with them as it is. So to wrap up this video, I'm going to show you a couple of the different sounds that I've conjured up and saved on Ghost Ridge. And that, my friends, is a little taste of what the Ghost Ridge reverb from NativeAudio can do for you. Personally, I think this reverb is an absolute winner. I'm all for simplicity in pedals because as someone who really puts together his own boards, has to handle all his own tech work, I don't have a whole lot of time to scroll through menus. I don't have a whole lot of time to worry about minutia of certain settings. So for me, if I can get something that can get me a lot of sounds very easily and very quickly, it's a big time winner for me and is most likely going on the board. The Ghost Ridge definitely falls into all those categories. Sure, it doesn't have like the amazing flexibility of some of the other reverb pedals that are available on the market today, but for my money, I'd rather have simplicity and access to more sounds than a big honking piece of pedal that costs X $100 and I use maybe a fifth of what it's capable of doing. That's just my personal preference. And I know a lot of you guys, presets are becoming increasingly more important. So if you're looking for simple with a lot of preset access, this is definitely one to take a look at. To close out this video, I want to bring up something really cool that NativeAudio does with all their pedals. In the user manual for each pedal you get from them, they include a little bit of a story as to the inspiration of the artwork. And I personally find that the artwork for the Ghost Ridge and the story behind it speaks to me on a very spiritual level, considering the bad news that I received this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and read directly from the manual. The design for the Ghost Ridge is a tribute to my Blackfeet Amskapi Pikuni, I hope I pronounced that right, heritage. In 1882, the buffalo reached near extinction, and during that year, the last buffalo hunt took place. Unfortunately, the buffalo was the source of life for the Blackfeet. The Blackfeet used the buffalo for food, clothing, shelter, and other applications. After the last hunt, hundreds of the Blackfeet lost their lives due to starvation and were buried at Ghost Ridge. Ghost Ridge is a burial site located outside of Browning, Montana on the Blackfeet Reservation. Considering I had just decided to dedicate this video to the memory of my grandfather, finding out that he sadly passed away this morning, that speaks to me on a very deep level, and I appreciate Mike for including those stories on the inspiration and the heritage of the artwork. So thank you, Mike. That was a really nice, bright spot in my day and kind of helped lift my spirits. And I appreciate you all indulging me in dedicating this video to him. He was a great guy, and he will be sorely missed. I really hope you guys enjoyed this look at the Ghost Ridge. I know I have enjoyed getting to know it and look forward to getting to know it a little bit more. If you did, please let me know in the comment section below. Please do consider giving this video a thumbs up and sharing it with your friends, as well as subscribing and turning on your notifications. The only thing I'll leave you with is to say I always love having you guys watch my videos and spend your time with me. It means the world. And if you haven't done so in a while, call somebody you care about and tell them you love them. Until next time, my friends, I'm SeanPierceJohnson, wishing you all out there great tone and happy stomping. Have a good one.